Hey, Wid fam. This is Leo, One Happy Widow. I have a new microphone, so I need to check and see if you can hear me. So if you're here, I know we still have a couple people here. Can you hear me? And is the volume sounding okay? How's the volume? Putting it in the chat. If not, I think I can change over to my regular computer one and see. I don't see anybody posting. Can you hear me? How's the volume? Can you hear me? Can hear you. Volume sounds okay. Awesome. Okay, if one person can hear, I'm assuming everybody can hear. Okay. I tried this on my other program, so hopefully it was it was working. Okay. So, yes, awesome. So people are saying they can hear me. That's good. So it's been a little while since I've posted, and it's been a long time since I posted a live. So I'm here, and we already have several people that are joining in. So I'm so happy that you're here to join me because I just gave out the notice that I'm going live just like 20 minutes ago or so. So if you're here to live, feel free to put down in the chat where you're from and tell us a hello. And if you're catching us on the replay, then feel free to post any questions or comments that you'd like in the description box below. All right, so today we are talking about money, finances, and all that stuff that it's not really something that I like to talk about, to be honest. So, the reason why I have actually never had a video about finances. I haven't talked about them. I haven't given any advice about them, and there's a few reasons for that. Number one, I am terrible at finances. So I have enough money to pay my bills, thank God. I don't make a very good budget every month. So I am not the person to talk to you about financial advice because I don't have good advice. I don't follow good advice, but I do have some resources for you. So the reason why I haven't talked about it in the past is because not only could I not tell you about it, I don't have any good advice for you. I'm not a financial planner in any way, shape, or form, but I also didn't have any good resources to send you to. Like, I didn't know where to even tell you to look about finances because I didn't have a good one. And until I have a good one, I'm not just going to send you just anywhere to find out what to do if I'm not confident in that person or that, resource. So I finally think that I have a good resource that I want to share with you. So I'm going to talk a few things about finances just in general, and then I'm going to tell you about the resource that I've come across and I'm very excited to share with you. And also, I'm going to tell you about a little bonus that I'm going to add to that to kind of sweeten the pot to encourage you to go use this resource and just, also, by the way, the resource is free. So, you can't be, that's the best financial advice I can give you is take advantage of free stuff because it's 100% off whenever it's free, right? So, all right, so we've got Melissa says she can hear me. We have Bam Canola 5 can hear me. Cindy's cross stitches here with a thumbs up. Boom Boom says hear you loud and clear. I guess I can hear you too. Bam Canola is from New Orleans. Shalon Gogan says, God bless. Wanda Campbell's from South Carolina. Melissa from Alabama. So, we got like our southeastern area covered. So I'm Georgia. So, we got our little corner of the country there covered. So, and then Janet is from Pennsylvania. So hello and welcome. Thank you so much for coming in. So I'm just going to get right to it because I feel like I'm going to be here a while talking about finances, and I don't want to get off on tangents too much, and I tend to do that when I'm on my live sessions, especially. So, and I can't cut them out in post production. Whatever we talk about here and however it happens, that's how it ends up going up on the YouTube. All right, so Katie has already given us some stuff. Let's see. Says she made the worst decision ever not long after her beloved died. She sold the family home as is to pay the pressuring daughter-in-law her small portion left to her in the will. we've been close to homeless. So, Katie, and we're going to address that, some of those issues today, and decision making and options and resources and things like that. So, I am so sorry to hear about that's a, you know what, that's a whole ball of wax too. In another video that I have talked about how family, unfortunately, the dynamics of family and friends can change so much when our loved one dies, because everybody kind of wants to reach in and either get their little piece, or they want to reach in and give their little piece of advice. And it's really tough sometimes with family. Some fortunate people out there have had their family that has just been there for them and supported them and no issues. But I hate to say, more times than not, family can complicate grief. That's just all I'm going to say about that. All right. So, but first of all, I want to talk about some of the different situations that we deal with as widows. I say widows in this video because we do have some widowers that do follow us and join our group. The link to the group, by the way, is at the top of the chat. It's also in the description. But we do have some widowers in our group and that watch the videos, but it's not a very high percentage. And in addition to that, generally, if you're talking about, let's say traditional marriage roles and things like that, the man is the breadwinner. He's the one that did the finances or made the most money or whatever. I know there's always different situations. I'm not trying to, make blanket statements. I'm just saying that financial issues, I think, hit the widows a lot harder than it does the widowers, especially if the man was a breadwinner. And if I lock out of here, look, I'm about to lose power. If I lose power, I've already lost power once today. If I lose power, I'm cutting it and coming right back. So, but it'll probably be a different link, just so you know. And I'm flickering right now. We've got a little storm overhead. So if I cut out like suddenly, it's because I've lost power and my internet went out and I have to wait 10 minutes to get it back up, just so you know. All right. So anyway, so like I said, I think that financial situations affect widows much more often and much more drastically than widowers, because you've got several different types of situations that I want to lay out. So first of all, let's talk about the young widow and widower. You got a young widow, maybe she has young children and her husband dies. A lot of times people don't think about getting life insurance or even setting up wills and things when they're younger, because they just haven't thought about it and they keep putting it off, and it's hard to think about, your mortality. And so a lot of times people don't have life insurance set up. A lot of times they don't have wills set up. Sometimes they don't have anything set up through their job or anything. And so a young widow with young children is affected greatly by that, because her husband's salary is zero, and you may not own a home, or if you do own a home, you might not have much equity in it, and so you would be responsible for continuing to pay the mortgage, which you may or may not be able to afford. You may have bills that you just can't pay on your own, because you're going from 2 salaries if you are both working to 1 salary, or 1 salary if your husband was the only one working to 0 salary. In addition, you may have been home with your children and you suddenly have to maybe go out and find work so that you can pay the bills, and now you have to find daycare. So these are some big financial changes that you have to deal with almost immediately if you're a young widow. Then you also have widows that have older children, or maybe your children are already out of the house, and so you're there. And again, maybe your house is not paid for, so you're still looking at having to buy a mortgage or pay. My hair is going crazy here. Pay rent that you are having to pay. You may not be able to afford to live in that same house that you are living in because you can't afford it, and so you may be looking at having to move or liquidate finances, or things like that. Then you've got and people who are in that middle range of age, I think, are more likely to have some assets such as life insurance. Because as you get older, you start to realize, hey, you know what? I kind of need a life insurance policy, because I might leave my family without my income at some point, and I need to make sure that they're taken care of. So if you have a life insurance policy, that's awesome that your spouse, your husband, took care of you in that way. Even after his death, he's still taking care of you financially. However, you might not really be sure how to implement this. Should you invest it? Should you spend it? Should you put it in the bank and try to live off of it? Like, what are you supposed to do with that? So we're going to talk about that in a minute. And then you've got the widow that is, maybe she was in retirement age. Y'all were retired and you were bringing in a check. Your husband's bringing in a check or a pension or something like that. And now you don't have his paycheck and you only have yours, your pension, your Social Security benefits, your job, your maybe nothing. And again, and if you might have been the breadwinner for your whole life, so you might not have any job skills, and you don't really want to think about going back to work because you have retired. You're of retirement age. You don't want to think about, going back to work and having to do those things and make those decisions. So we've got all these different situations of how you could be financially when you become widowed. And so there's not a right or wrong answer to all those. Those are all different situations, and all the finances, every financial piece of advice is going to be different according to where you are in life, where you are financially, where you have been left financially, work-wise. I mean, there's just so many things to kind of go into that, I couldn't even make a video saying this is what you need to do, even if I had the answers, because everybody's situation is different. And so I will say that I was very fortunate that my husband had life insurance, and I'll tell you how that happened. If you haven't seen the video of how that happened, my husband had like somewhat of a midlife crisis, right? So he was discharged from the military and he got a big giant check, a severance pay kind of a check, and he was discharged on a medical. And so he decided to go out and take some of that money and buy himself a real expensive motorcycle. And so he comes home with his motorcycle, and he had never driven a motorcycle before. So he had to go take driving lessons on how to drive it. It was a big giant Harley. I mean, it was giant. And so he was learning how to ride it. He had to go take these lessons. And so he comes in, he's like, yeah, I'm about to go on my bike. I'm going to go on my Harley. And at the time, this was like in 2008, I think it was. But anyway, I said, well, hold on a second. We got 4 babies at home. I said, you're not going out on that motorcycle to go have somebody hit you or you crash or something bad happens. Because on a motorcycle, you can get hit by somebody just as easily, no matter how careful you are. So you're not going to leave me. And he was no longer in the military, so he didn't have life insurance through the military anymore. And so I said, you're not getting on that bike until you got some life insurance for me. I'm not going to be sitting here with no way to raise my kids. He was like, I'll be right back. It just so happened his uncle was an insurance salesman. So he went straight over, and he was right there in town with us. He went straight over there. He talked to his uncle. He got his life insurance policy set up, signed, and in place. He came and gave me that paperwork, slapped it down on the table, and said, I'm going for a ride. I'll be back in a bit. So that's how it was that he got life insurance, because I pretty much made him. And so even through all of our financial situations, and we lost houses and the real estate crash, y'all know what happened way back there in 2007, 8 and whatever. Through all of that, we made it a point to make sure that we continued to pay for that life insurance policy. So, that was his way of taking care of us. So I had a life insurance policy, but I didn't see a financial planner because I don't like people telling me what to do, to be honest. And so I'll get around to that one in a minute too. But because the advice I'm about to give you today, I got to follow it. Like, I'm going to have to follow it too. And I'm going to follow up on that. But so I had life insurance, and I didn't know how to invest. I don't know anything about investing. I don't know anything about budgeting. I'm a math teacher, and I still am intimidated by budgeting, by investing, by, I don't know, planning, whatever. So since I wasn't sure what to do with the money, I just took it and I bought a house. So I just paid for it so that I didn't have to worry about investing something, losing it, spending it, trickling all away, whatever. I bought our house with it. And so that way I knew that the money was never going to go away, and it was only going to increase in value, because homes always increase in value. And I felt like at that point I could provide a home for my family. And when I die, my kids can get it. And that's still a way for him, and his legacy and all of his assets to pass down to the kids. So that's how I worked that. But money never goes as far as you think it's going to. I'm not going to share a whole lot of my specific numbers with you, but I will tell you that the amount that I got seemed like it was enough where I should be able to just, quit my job and just raise the kids and not have to worry about it. But that was not the case. I was not able to quit my job. If I didn't have a mortgage, I still had lots of bills. I still don't have a mortgage. I have tons of bills, tons. And so I'm remarried now. I have a salary. I make a full-time salary as a teacher. My husband makes a full-time salary as a business owner. He's a milkman. And between the two of us, we make plenty of money, but we sure have a lot of bills. And so at the end of every month, I'm like, where the heck is all the money? It's spent on whatever else. So again, I'm going to use the advice that I'm giving you today, and I'm going to follow it and follow up with you. I'm going back and see if anybody else has joined us. Anne says, hi, Leo and all. I'm from Mafra, Victoria, Australia. So I'm sure it's some kind of weird opposite time zone right now. Is it like the middle of the night or early in the morning? I don't know. I'm so glad that you're joining us. Karen says, from Wisconsin, I'm horrible with finances and dealing with auto repairs. I'm high functioning other ways, but not financially. I hear you, girl. I hear you. It's not about the ability, I don't think. It's just about I don't know. It's a personality thing. I do not want some man. First of all, I don't want to tell somebody all my financial business and then have them tell me how to spend the money that is mine. But at the same time, maybe there's resources out there I don't even know about that I need to at least know what my options are. I have to realize that they're not telling me what to do. They're telling me what I can do. And within what I can do, they're telling me what would be best, what would be worst, and somewhere in between. And I still get to decide what to do, but at least I have that information available to me. It's about not being ignorant about it. And so I need to do that too. Malini says, hello, everyone. So glad to be a part of this group. Take care of yourselves. Awesome. And Katie says, I wish we'd had life insurance. Some money goes farther than no money. That is very true. And we're going to talk about how to deal with those situations as well. Malini says, yes, I have many medical bills yet to be paid. Looking forward to your advice. Les says, I've been listening to Dave Ramsey for years. He helped me get out of debt. He has a free YouTube show that will teach you how to budget and snowballs the bills off of. So yes, Dave Ramsey is another guy that you can probably just watch his YouTube videos, and he's very famous, and he has lots of ideas about how to pay off debt. I know he has some kind of way to budget. He also has it's real strict though. See, I don't deal well with real strict rules. That's just me. But I am following his ideas on how to pay off credit cards. So he has an idea of how to pay off credit cards, putting them in order. And then you pay off the smallest balance first by putting a bunch of money there. And then you take that money and you go to the next smallest balance and you pay those off. So I have several credit cards I'm working on paying off, and I'm hoping I can do that in the next 2 years. Anyway, so Dave Ramsey, I'm sure, has a lot of budgeting ideas and debt payoff ideas. Mary Lynn says, hi from Iowa. Shell says, hello from UK. And 5 a.m. here. Bless you. I'm never awake at 5 a.m. if I can help it. Laura says, also from Michigan. Katie says, 4:30 a.m. Oh my gosh. Y'all must have some insomnia or something. I don't know. So Jessica says, hi, Leo. So glad to see you here. I'm so glad to be here. It's been a while. Les says his rules are only as strict as you allow. I've paid off $100,000 since my husband passed away 3 years ago. That's awesome. Awesome. So yes. So check that out for, for whatever you would like. That's not the resource I want to share with you, the goodie resource, but definitely. So, it's always good to find out as many resources as you can. And he's got a lot of free stuff. I think he has a program too. I'm not all sure about that, but okay, so here's my list of just talking about general things about what we're going to do when we are thinking about our finances, and then I'll share my goodies with you. Let's see. So the first thing to do is just assess where you are. Okay, so there's kind of two different phases. There's lots really, but there's two different main phases. There's when you first become widowed. There's a lot of things that have to be done one time, estates have to be probated, wills have to be probated, and executors have to be assigned for wills and probates. And I don't know if I'm speaking exactly right on all those legal terms, but I just know wills, probates, estates, executors, attorneys, court. Okay, so all that stuff, if you're freshly widowed, I don't even know about it, and I've been through it. I went through it once because I was widowed, but I was in such a state of fresh grief that I'm just going on autopilot. Whatever somebody's telling me to do, I'm just kind of doing it in a fog. To be honest, I don't even remember exactly what order everything went in. Even though my husband had life insurance, he did not have a will, because he just assumed since I was the wife, I was going to get everything automatically, which is not exactly how things worked out. Because guess what? Without a will, you got to go through a bunch of other legal steps, and you got other family members coming in that decide that they want to have a say in how things go. And let me tell you, even though I had a life insurance policy with beneficiaries laid out on paper, it still got contested and got held up in court for 4 months, and could have got held up in court for years. But we agreed to come up with an agreement, I guess you could say, that nobody was happy with, but we all decided to do it because we didn't want any of us to be held up in court for 2 or 3 or 4 years. And so, even though you think you got stuff like ironclad, just make sure that you've got that paperwork in place. So you've got wills to figure out, you've got estates, you might have property that's in both of your names, things like that. So the first thing that you do, and then the second part, we talked about the first part, right? The second part is, now that you've got all this stuff worked out, now that you've got all the wills done, and the executor has given out all the assets, and everything's kind of, the one-time things have gone in through that cycle, right? The life insurance is paid out, or whatever that is. And now you've got to look at, how am I going to do my new finances for the rest of my life, right? From now on, my monthly budget, my assets are changed, my finances look different, what's coming in is different, what's going out is different, my future plans might have changed, retirement might look different. Maybe I was in retirement, now I got to go back to the workforce, Social Security, all those things. These are lots of questions to ask that I don't have all the answers to. But so you got to do all the stuff first and have it all set up and go through the courts and get dispersed. Then you got to figure out, how do I move forward? Looking forward, what do I need to do? Do I need to, like, if you have a windfall of money, you need to spend it, save it, invest it, what to do with that? How do you go about even finding out if you have access to your husband's pension, some Social Security money, some other monthly benefits, some VA benefits, things like that. And by the way, VA benefits change all the time. I just got finished applying again for some VA benefits just this past month, because there's some things that I believe that my daughter is now eligible for, that she was not eligible for before, because of some changes in some laws. So anyway, you just got to keep up on that. So the first thing you do is you assess, you figure out where you are, you try your best to figure out what your assets are, gather all your financial documents so that you'll know what you're working with, bank statements, real estate deeds, car titles, anything property that you own, you want to get paperwork on that, because especially if it's in both of your names, or if it was just in his name, you want to work on, how do you figure out how to get all that stuff into your name? Find out what you have coming, because you might have assets you did not even know about. Find out how you can, like, what if there was a life insurance policy that you didn't even know about? And how do you even find out that there is one? How do you know if there's assets out there that you are entitled to, that if you don't know they exist? Like, how do you find out about them? Those kinds of things. Figure out what your new expenses are. So your expenses are going to be different now, because your husband might have had some things he was paying on that you may or may not be responsible for. And that's different from state to state, or from country to country. I'm speaking of the United States, but even in the United States, some states, widows are financially responsible for the debts of their husband after they die, and some states are not. And so depending on what state you're in, you got to figure out, or ask somebody, what is my situation? And that goes for like medical bills and car notes and student loans and just all those things, right? And so for most states, I think most of the time, widows are not responsible for their husband's debt. But that's not a blanket statement, and that does not, don't take my words and say this applies all the time, because it doesn't. And again, the only way to find out what your options are is to talk to somebody who's a professional about that. So I'll talk to you about how to do that in a second. So really, you just want to understand your big financial picture. Okay. And that's the last thing you really want to think about when you're in grief, because number one, you're in grief. And so your brain's not working right. Your brain is like so concentrated on your grief and trying to, it's like it's broken, right? It's trying to accept the fact that your husband is no longer with you. And that, just that reality right there is really tough to convince yourself of. On top of that, you're grieving. And so you're not really thinking straight because you're very emotional. Number three, you might not know what your options are or even who to ask or where to go to. And, you're making decisions based on emotions that aren't necessarily going to be in the same mixture as on down the road. But you can't afford to wait on down the road to make some of these decisions. So you got to make these big decisions right away in the time that you're least likely to have to want to make that decision. And the person you would consult about these big decisions is no longer with you. Like you would have consulted, you either would have let your husband make the decision or you would have consulted together with those decisions and come up with a plan together. And now it's just you. And so, that's a huge, huge change. So you want to try to get all that stuff together as hard as it might be, because you're setting yourself up now for financial strength on down the road. Because the stronger you can set yourself up financially, the more able you are to deal with your grief and your emotions and all the situations that are come along down the road. Money can't fix your problems, but lack of money can sure add to your problems, right? And so even though money can't solve your problems, if you are able to handle the money situation, then you can put the financial issues aside and focus your emotional energy on your grief, on your children, on your job, on your hobbies, on your people, on your relationships, whatever it is that you need to focus on. Like you don't need to be having all this turmoil over finances if you could have somebody to help you figure out what those are and at least ease those burdens, or at least, tell you what your options are. And so the first thing you want to do is manage your immediate matters. So that means you need to contact everybody that you need to contact when your husband has passed away, or your wife. But again, I'm just mostly talking about widow stuff today. And so if you're not even sure, like I wasn't even sure who I needed to call, like who do I need to contact? So I have a hair sticking out here. I have a contact list for you while I'm trying to pull this hair off, on my website. And so I want to send you there. And it's also in the description below, but it's onehappywidow.com/contact. I think it's, yeah. So there's if you go to that page, has a little form, you put your name and your email in, and it will send you it's a very simple list. It's probably not comprehensive to every single person, but it is a really good general list of like the top, I think there's 20 or 25 different contacts of just people that you might not have really thought about that you need to contact to get things set up, or just, let people know, things like that. And so that will be a good place to start on, just to kind of remind you, because you're going to overlook some things. And this will at least help you to look on that list and say, yep, I contacted that person, that company, that person. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I didn't even think about this. And so just go through that list, take a look at it, and just see if you've overlooked or forgotten about a person, a company, a resource, a bank, things like that. When Dewey was sick, he was sick for 4 months, and I was working. And in the whole 4 months that he was sick, and we already knew he was dying and everything, I had a small life insurance policy on him through my job that was just like a little add-on that I didn't even think about. I just checked a little blocks when I checked one little block that I got when I got hired, and it said, do you want to, it was like $2 a month or something, do you want to do, like this small life insurance policy, right? Or for your spouse with no medical, whatever. I was like, yeah, it's $2 a month or $6 a month. It was something low. It was like less than $10 a month. The whole time he was sick and the whole time we were going through, I never once thought about that life insurance policy. Like, it did not even dawn on me. I remember when it happened, I was talking to my mom when she was visiting me after he died, while we were going through the funeral stuff. Like, we were talking about things and how I was going to go do, like, discussing kind of this stuff. And all of a sudden a light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have like a little life insurance policy for him, to cover him. That without that, it wasn't a whole lot, but gosh, it was enough to last me through the few months while my other life insurance policy, the big one, was in contesting, Mama was contesting the life insurance. But anyway, so while that was being held up, this little one was just enough to keep me going, to keep me from getting kicked out of my house, keep me from losing. I also lost a car, but keep me from losing the one car I was driving. So like, I was in such turmoil even while he was sick. I had 4 months to remember that he had that little life insurance policy and never even realized it. Totally forgot. So of course, when I remembered, I filled out the paperwork, and it wasn't but like 10 days, and I was able to get that little check. So those are just the kind of things like it's not like I didn't know. I just totally forgot because I had so many other things on my mind. I wasn't like super focusing about money when he was dying, but unfortunately, that's some of the stuff you got to think about because you gotta provide for yourself and your kids if you have them when your spouse is gone. So it's, even though it's a yucky thing to think about, it's a necessary evil. And so if you'll go there to that website to that page on my website, and you can download a little contact list, and it's free. And also you need to think about making a new budget for your current situation. So your budget is obviously going to be different. If you had a budget before, it's no longer going to apply. If you didn't have a budget, you probably need to make one. I'm talking to myself too. You need to find out what you got coming in. You might not even know. So that's another thing. You got to figure out what you got coming in. You got to figure out what you got going out, like what you already pay for, what you no longer have to pay for that might have been your husband's responsibility and not yours, what you can get rid of, what you can do without, all those types of things. If you need to cut costs because your money doesn't go as far anymore, like all those things you need to think about. If you are not sure, that's when you need to think about talking to somebody. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to tell you about the resource. And part of the resource I'm going to share with you covers, like budgeting and stuff. And so my third point, my first point was assess your situation. Your second point was manage your immediate situation, like figure out what you got to do immediately. And then my third point is to seek professional advice. And so I'm a pretty smart person. And, like I said, I'm pretty, I don't want to say proud, but just like, I don't like people telling me what to do. And again, I was freshly widowed. I really didn't want to go to some guy. I mean, it might've been a woman, but most of the time financial planners are men. Let's just face it. I want to go to some man and tell him all my business and then have him tell me what to do. And so I was being a little bratty. And so since I found out about this resource, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to. Okay. I'm going to tell you what's coming up. So the first part is it's important for planning purposes. So not only do you possibly have resources coming in that you need to figure out how to liquidate those things, but you also now have something like you might be realizing that you need to get a will and you need to get a retirement plan going, and you need to figure out how you're going to plan in case something happens to you. Who are you leaving behind that needs to be taken care of, especially if you have young children? That was my big fear when Dewey died. The first thing I thought was, man, he died of some health related issues. Then I wasn't the healthiest person either. And so I thought, what if I die? And then my kids have nobody. They have no money. They have no assets. They have no nothing. And so I freaked out. Not only that, but who's going to raise them? I wanted to make sure that I decided who was going to finish raising them if I died at that time. I wanted to make sure they were taken care of financially. I didn't want all my money to be flown somewhere. I also didn't want, if they did have assets and they were all young, I didn't want them to have to wait until they were 18 to be able to even touch any money. And then who's going to take care of them in the process? And how are they going to have the money to take care of them? It's just a big thing. I didn't want somebody else to say, I'll take the kids and the money, that's not what I wanted. You know what I mean? And so I want to make sure all that stuff is set up properly so that in case something really bad happened, that was going to be put into place. And so that's one important reason, why you need a financial expert to be able to help you. And then I'm looking at my notes a lot because I don't trust myself to remember all this. And professional people can consist of financial planners. So help you with investing, help you with budgeting, help you thinking about things in the future, estate planners. So things, people to help you figure out what assets you have and your home stuff and your car stuff and your future stuff and you're selling houses and buying houses and all that. Attorneys, of course, for legal stuff, for wills, for probates, for passing out the assets that you might have, things like that. And of course, for accountants, because taxes can be can be messy, and taxes can be weird. And I can tell you this, and this is like a federal thing for United States, is that from the time that you're widowed, for the first couple years, you can claim a certain way, and then after that, you have to claim a different way. Like, you get those tax benefits for being married, and then when you become widowed, suddenly you're single. But you can, for 2 years, claim widowed, which gives you those same protections as if you were married, those same tax protections as if you were married. So for 2 years after that, you can claim that. And then after that, you have to go back and just do head of household or single or whatever. I'm also not an accountant, so just take that information and find out what you can with all the details from a tax accountant or whatever. So yeah, your taxes are going to change, all that stuff. All right. And then of course you got your probate and your estates. Oh, this is so boring. Like it's stuff we need to hear, but golly, I couldn't be a financial planner. I am a financial spender. That's the part I like to talk about with money, is how I'm going to spend it, what I'm going to buy. And that's not very healthy, but that's one of my trauma responses. Retail therapy is the way that I deal with my grief a lot. And I can tell when I'm really stressed because the Amazon packages come much more frequently and stack a lot higher at the door when I'm going through a lot of stress. So just saying. It's a thing. All right. So I'm going to share with you the resource that I have for you, and then we'll talk a little bit more about how it can pertain to you. So I'm going to put it in the chat, and it's also I can't type and talk. It's also in the description below. So if you are not able to see the chat, or if you're looking at the replay, so I put in the chat and it's down below. So it's Money Pickle. It's www.moneypickle.com/onehappywidow. Is that spelled right? Yeah. So if you click on that, that will take you to a financial resource website. And this is when you click on that, this is what you have offered to you. All right, so this is a special offer that I have that I've worked out with this financial resource, okay? So it's Money Pickle, and they are financial planners, and they will help you to decide all those things that I just talked about. They're going to help you figure out. They're not going to tell you what to do. They're going to ask you what your situation is. You can share as much or as little with them as you want to, but the more details you share with them, the better they can make a decision. But this is what you're going to get. You sign up for a time to meet with them, and it's online. So it's going to be a 45-minute session that is free, a free session. You're going to tell them your situation, and they're going to tell you what kind of options you have available to you. Now, obviously, they're not going to answer they're not going to be able to answer all of your questions in 45 minutes, but they're going to get an idea of if you even need to be set up with a financial planner or a budgeter or a investment professional or things like that. And there might be options out there for you that you don't even know about. So they're going to tell you about that too. So they'll be able to answer your general questions. They'll be able to, at that point, if you decide that you want to be set up with a financial planner or some other kind of services, they have people right there that they will be able to set you up with, and they will be able to figure out what it is you need, how they're going to deliver that service to you, and all that. Is totally no obligation. It is 45-minute free. So all you got to do is click on it, sign up, make yourself an appointment, and see what they have to say. The worst thing that can happen is you listen to them and say, garbage, garbage, garbage. I don't want to listen to you. I'm going to do my own thing. Have a nice day. Done. Right? I doubt that would happen, but and because of all this, I'm going to do it too. I am going to go on there. I'm going to make myself an appointment. The next time I come back on my video, I'm going to tell you how it went. But I have already spoken to them. Like I've already spoken to them on the phone because I wanted to find out what this was all about. And so I have talked to them about the general gist of how everything is set up, so I could work out this deal that I am providing for you. And I talked to the guy who's in charge of all of these appointments and things like that. And he, like I said, I got the details and the gist of everything of what that is. So check out Money Pickle. Make sure you click on the thing, because they're going to go back and see how many people are coming from this direction, because they want to see. Also, it's going to give them an idea of how you found out about them, and it's going to give them an idea of where you're coming from. Because obviously, if you're coming from here, you've probably either lost a spouse or you know somebody who did. So that'll give them a little general idea of what to prepare for you. All right. And like I said, you don't have to share any personal details with them. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. And, just go from there. That's it. All right. So it's a free resource. And I'm going to sweeten the pot a little bit. So it's about to be August, right? And so right now I think it's July 30th, but it's about to be August. So anybody who clicks on that link and makes an appointment with them, email me, leo@onehappywidow.com, and tell me when your appointment is. I'm not going to it, but just say, hey, I signed up for an appointment on such and such date at such and such time, just to show me that you actually did it. And if you do that, then I will have and I'm going to do this every month. At the end of August, I will have a Zoom session, not just a live, an actual Zoom session that I will send you an invitation to. It's going to be private. It's going to be exclusive to only those people. It'll be a Zoom session with you where we can talk about, you don't have to share any of your finances. I'm not talking about that, but I want to hear what your experience was with them. Because if it's a lot of good stuff, I want to make sure that I know. Also, if there's some issues or whatever, I also want to know. And if there's things that we need to tweak and we need to push that forward and let them know that, hey, these are some other things that we might need, that I can push that along too. So I will give you a link to the Zoom session that I have at the end of every month. And you will be invited to come on there, and you can just give me feedback on how your appointment was, what you felt about it. And, you don't have to share any other details or whatever. If you have any other questions, it don't have to be finance related, but you got me on the Zoom session at that time. So it's going to be, I'll be able to see your face. You'll be able to talk to me and all that stuff. So it'll be however many people's in there and me. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to do that every month, as long as we've got people signed up, just so that we can just keep a tally on how it's going, if this resource is beneficial and working for everybody, because it is a new resource. And so I'm pretty excited about it, but I just want to make sure it's going to be a benefit for everybody. All right. So sign up, email me and let me know when your appointment is, and then I'll set up a link for the Zoom session and invite you to that. Okay. Hold on. I have lost my place. Okay. Got that. And then, okay. So now I'm going back to my overview. Oh, estate planning. All right. So estate planning. Again, gather all your paperwork. So that's going to be bank statements, wills, insurance, pensions, your job stuff. Like I said, I had forgotten that I even had a life insurance policy for my husband until right before the funeral. Your husband's job stuff, because he may have a pension that you can cash in on, or in some way, all kinds of things like that. And then, setting up your budget, setting up your assets. So again, if you can do this by yourself, you can do this by reading you can watch YouTube, I guess. So here's the problem with that. I can find just about any information on YouTube, I tell you. But when you're talking about legal stuff and you're talking about finances, or you're talking about like attorney stuff or whatever, first of all, it's different from state to state. And second of all, how do you know if that person on YouTube knows what the heck they're talking about? Like when it comes down to really important stuff like that, I don't really want to trust some YouTube guru. They might be awesome. They might not. And there's no way to really tell the difference. So in things like that, they're a little bit more high stakes. When your retirement is at stake, or your pension is at stake, or your paycheck is at stake, I'm going to want to talk to a real professional, who is licensed, who has, certifications and degrees and all that stuff, right? And they know what they're talking about. Okay. And then you're going to want to update changes. And so obviously, like I said before, some things are going to change. Mostly it's going to be paycheck stuff, right? Paycheck stuff's going to change. When Dewey died, he wasn't working, but he was bringing in Social Security, and he was bringing in disability from the military. And what's really sad is that he was at home making nearly the same amount of money that he was actually making more, to be honest. Let's just be honest. Between his two paychecks, his paychecks were higher than my teaching salary, bring home. And so when he died, that all ended. And so our income got cut in half, over in half. And so I still had to figure out how to make ends meet, on just my salary with 4 kids. And until the life insurance came and until the house was built and all that. And I built the house. So it took another 8 or 10 months to build the house after we even, picked it out and did all that stuff. So we were continuing to rent. So I was having to pay the rent and the car payments and the food and all that stuff on my salary alone, which was very low. Let's just put it that way. Teachers don't get paid nearly enough. Again, there's estate documents, there's property taxes, there's bills. You need to find out I'm not going to tell you whether you're responsible for your husband's bills or not, because I don't know. But all I'm saying is this: do not pay your husband's bills, his debts and things like that, that's just in his name, until you know for sure that you're responsible for paying them. So that's all I will say. I'm not saying don't pay them at all. I'm saying do not pay them unless you are for sure that you are responsible. Because if you ask the company that sent you the bill and say, well, he died, am I still responsible? They'll be like, yes, you are. Well, they're going to tell you that you are because they want their money. They don't want to write it off. But legally, you might not be responsible for that. I was not responsible for any of the vast amount of medical bills that he had from his hospital and his chemo and all that stuff. I was not responsible for any of that, but they sure as heck sent me the bills for it and wanted me to pay it. And so if you just wait for the bills to come in, you start paying the bills thinking, well, they wouldn't send me the bill if I wasn't responsible for paying it. Oh, they would. Whether you're responsible or not, they're not worried about that. They're just seeing if they can get you to pay the bill. So if you're not sure if you're responsible for paying his debts or not, go talk to somebody. Go to Money Pickle and click on that link and at least ask them that. Say, look, this is a state that I live in. I'm not sure if these bills, if these credit card bills, if his car bill, I don't know if I'm supposed to pay this or not. Can you please help me figure that out? Because if you're not supposed to pay it, they will tell you just write whatever and send it back or contact whatever and whatever you're supposed to say. But I can promise you the bills are not going to stop coming. They're going to send it to you in hopes that you pay it, whether you're supposed to or not. And once you pay it, they're not going to give it back to you. If you paid off a bill and said, oh, you know what? I wasn't responsible for that. Can you send it back? No, they're not going to do that. So just know for sure what you're responsible for paying, what you're not, before you just start writing checks. Okay. So budgeting and cash flow. So this is moving forward, right? After all the stuff is all done and all the bull crap is all finished in the beginning, the one-time things. Now you got to figure out, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to budget? Do I have to go back to work? Do I need to cash in investments? Do I need to liquidate assets? All those things. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. That's the question for the experts. And so, do I need to cash in a retirement fund early? When do I need to retire and start pulling in Social Security? Because they've got a young age and then a middle age and then an old age that you can start pulling in Social Security. I think it's like 60, don't quote me, 62, 63, something like that. And then there's the longer you wait, the higher your check, but the older you get. So there's like a balancing act on when you should actually start pulling your Social Security in and not. It depends on what your other situations look like. So you need to have an idea of when is the best time for you to retire and start pulling in your Social Security and working. And when you're pulling in Social Security, you can't make us over a certain amount of money. And then, I don't know the formulas, but I know that there's some things you got to consider when you're pulling in a Social Security check and you're working and your retirement and your investments and things like that. Like Social Security looks at investment income differently than labor income. So you might not be able to work and make a certain amount of money and pull in your Social Security, but you might be able to pull in investment income. What if you own real estate, and you're renting out homes that you own or something like that? You might be able to pull in that. It might not affect your Social Security check. So again, I'm not telling you what does and doesn't. I'm saying these are questions you need to ask so that you know. The more that you know, the more powerful your decisions can be. Don't make decisions based on what you think you know, or what you heard, or what somebody told you, or what you saw on the internet, or whatever. Talk to a professional and at least find out what your options are so that you'll make the best decision that works for you and your family. And then, of course, we got insurance and benefits. And so, like I said, try your best to find out what they are. If you already know about all the insurance stuff, then great. Find out what the paperwork is, but go to your husband's job and see if he has an insurance policy on himself that you maybe didn't even know about that you can cash in on. Go and see if you have some kind of pension benefits that you can cash in on. Go and see if you can go to Social Security and find out, whatever. Go to, there's also some websites that you can go to. I don't know what they are and how to go through all the things, but there's also some websites you can go to where you can find if your husband has unclaimed assets, like from governments or something, or checks or tax checks or whatever. But I don't know what they are exactly. So Money Pickle would be able to help you to find out, how do I find out about unknown assets that my husband maybe had something that was owed to me that I didn't even know, that maybe he didn't even know about. And so there may be some benefits through his job that they're not going to tell you have. They're not going to offer it to you, but you still have it available, but you have to ask for it. So you don't know what to ask if you don't know what to ask, right? And so same thing with if your husband was in the military at any time, even if he was already out of the military before he died, even if he was in the military way, way back, you would be amazed at what some of the benefits are for survivors of military. That of course they're not going to find you. You gotta go through and find them. And so go to the there's usually a VFW in your area that you can go to, and they have people that are designated that can help you to find answers to those types of situations for free. But also, there's lawyers out there that might be able to take your case that just do VA benefit claims and things like that. And you might be able to figure it out yourself. Go to va.gov and see if you can figure out the paperwork yourself. But it is complicated, I will tell you, because I've been messing with a lot of that stuff too. But there is a lot of benefits out there from the military. Sorry. I'm so thirsty. There's a lot of benefits out there that the military can offer, not just financial, like some is monthly, some is one time. And then like my kids get money from the VA for their college. A lot of it, like if they're in college right now, if they are full-time college, they can get $1,300 and some a month cash that just goes in their pocket for being a full-time college student, up to 30, I think it's 36 months worth of educational benefits that they get. That's free money, does not have to be paid back. But they qualify because their dad was on disability and then he died and he was in the military. So check that out. There's also, they also are covered on health insurance. So that's not money, but I don't have to cover them on health insurance through my job because they have free health insurance through the VA that they can go to regular doctors. It's, not the best insurance. The coverage is not great. And a lot of the doctors don't really know what it is and how to file it. So it's a little tricky on what doctors that we can see and what doctors know how to file, but I don't pay for it. I pay some copays when they go in, but I don't pay a monthly fee to have it. They have that for free. It's also, they also get a card, for their medicines. And so that makes their medicines a lot cheaper too. So those are things that they're not going to contact you. You got to go ask for them. And so if you are in any of those situations, then, think about that. Investment and retirement planning. So now you got to think about, do you need to invest differently? Do you need to invest at all? Do you need to start investing and you didn't invest before? Do you need to stop investing and liquidate the things you had? I don't know anything about investing, nothing. And so that would be a question for Money Pickle. If you go there and ask them, what's the situation, tell them what your investment situation is, they will be able to give you an idea of how to move forward with that. Same thing with retirement planning. I know that I did not have a separate life insurance policy for myself until Dewey died. And then I realized how quickly his life insurance ran out, and I still ended up having to work. And I was like, wow, that didn't go nearly as far as I thought. And so I had this life insurance through my job, which was a few $100,000. That's not enough to pay off all of our debts and stuff or whatever. And I got 4 kids. That's not very much when you split it up evenly against all the kids. And so now I have a husband, and he has a business, and I want him taken care of too. So I went out and got a separate life insurance policy so that if I quit, lose my job, retire, whatever, I will still have life insurance for them if something happens to me. And I got a lot more than I ever thought I would get, because I realize now that you always need more than what you think. And so find out what your future goals are. When are you looking to retire? How are you going to make that happen? Also protect yourself. So just be careful. Again, that's why you talk to a professional, because you start putting questions out there on Facebook and your friends and family, and you're like, I got all this insurance money coming. What am I going to do with it? Like, guess what? Everybody else is going to help you figure out what to do with it. You don't want that. You don't want predators to come after you. You might not even want to change your, your Facebook status to widow, because that opens it up to potential people trying to scam you or trying to find love or whatever, so you got to think about protecting yourself. You don't want to give out a whole lot of information to a whole lot of people that friends, family, strangers, because unfortunately people see dollar signs and they treat you differently. And I hate that, but that's true. A financial planner is not, that's their job, is to tell you what to do with your money or to advise you on what your options are with your money. So they're not going to try to come in and steal it from you. They're going to try to help you. Of course, if I don't know how it all works, how they make their money, I'm sure they get something off their investments or whatever, but like that's a legitimate way to plan your stuff without making yourself vulnerable to predators and things like that. And so let's see, emergency funds and saving for the future. So that obviously you should just do that anyway, but life gets in the way. So what's the best way to set up an emergency fund? So if something bad happens, if you lost your job, if you got disabled, could you take care of your kids? What is in place for that? And what is in place for saving for the future? And so that might have already been in place before your husband died, but does it need to change now? If it wasn't already in place, it's now more important that it needs to be in place. And so how do you set it up? What's a good amount? What do you need to strive for? What are the goals that you need to make? All those questions I cannot answer for you. If you can't answer them for yourself, then you need to go talk to Money Pickle and see what they have to say about that. So that is, let me see. I'm going back to see what I have to catch up on all of my chats. Let's see. Oh gosh, we got to go back a little bit in Australia. I got to go back even more. All right. So there's my Money Pickle stuff. Ask at your church for financial guidance. Yeah. So if you're a member of a church, then, they might be able to give you some free financial guidance as well. So that's an option, but not everybody goes to church. And so not everybody wants to tell the church their business either. So it's just up to you, decide what you want to do. Malini says, which state are you in? I'm in Texas. It's 6 months now. I just started the process of informing the bank and credit cards. So, let's see. Oh, I missed some stuff. Oh gosh, I got to go way back. I can't go back to all of this. They're talking about people, who was responsible for what. Then some situations that people went through, finances first year, but it's very important, especially in the first year. That is true. Katie says, I have a roof over my head now. That is one place to start. Tracy says, it sucks being a widow. I was 39 and now I'm 61. And that is true. It sucks. It doesn't matter how long it's been. It sucks. I didn't make any decisions for 12 months, allowed myself to deal with the grief and go through it. And, they say that, don't make any big decisions for 12 months, but, sometimes you don't have a choice, a lot of times financially, you have to make a big decisions within the first week or 2 weeks or month. And so a lot of times you don't have a choice. And based on those decisions that you had to make, you might have to make other decisions. So I agree that, don't make any unnecessary decisions just like on a whim, but sometimes you just have to, and you need to. And if you stop making a decision, or you hesitate from making a decision just because they say, well, don't do it in the first 12 months, then you may be putting yourself in a bind that you really don't need to stay in, that you could get yourself out of just because you're afraid to make a decision. So I think that just depends. I do feel like it is a high emotional time. And so you have to be careful about making decisions in that amount of time. But for me, I had to get out of that house. We were renting anyway, and it was infested with rats. And it was infested when we moved in, and we could never get rid of them. And we just could not get out of there fast enough. We hadn't been there long. all the places that I looked had nothing but memories of when he had gotten sick and, him dying. He didn't die in the house, but still all the memories of all his illness and everything was there. My job was giving me, was triggering me for my grief, the people looking at me funny. And so I made some changes pretty quickly in that first year, but they were all for the better for me. They all improved my state of mind. They improved me financially. And so I don't regret those decisions, even though I made them in the first year. So it's not always the case across the board for everybody. So Melanie says, Tracy, grief does not go away, right? I'm not looking forward to this life at all. I hope it gets better. So Melanie, it does get, I don't want to say the grief gets any less, because it really doesn't. We just get better at dealing with it. We get stronger. We get better at creating routines. We get better at training our brain to think about the happy times rather than triggering to the bad times. And so we get better. It doesn't get better, but we get better at handling it in our lives. And so that's the way that I see it. Janet says, luckily my sons were here and helped me navigate, notify people, bank accounts, etc. And everyone was able to do it by themselves. So yeah, if you have somebody you trust that's not going to take advantage of you, definitely have them help you also. But it's just hard to know who to trust. Like even family members sometimes can turn on you. That's tough. So Stormy says, Stormy, I'm going to out her right now. She is my sister. So she's on here. She says this is an old woman shirt. So I am an old woman. I don't know what else to say. Like it or like, sorry. That's all I can say about that. Too late. And so Jessica says, yes, I will need to get a will. So true. Tracy says his brother was nasty. 9 months later, he told he and his wife took my daughter. They wanted her Social Security number when she turned 18, they forced her. So, oh gosh. Well, hopefully you got them on that. Cause if they forge stuff, then that's a big crime. So hopefully they had to pay for all that stuff. So let's see, ask your church for financial guidance. Yes, that's a good idea if you belong to a church. I think that's one day at a time for me. The next step for me, planning for when I'm no longer here. My sons are beneficiaries on my financial accounts. Had the bank put my sons as a trustee on my account so they can access the money. So yeah, and I've got, my three out of 4 of my kids are grown now. And so at this point, I only have one more child at home and she's 13. And so at this point, I feel like if she did not want, she could stay with JP if she wanted to, and he would happily finish raising her. But, she's old enough to be able to decide. And so she now has other options. And so if she wanted to stay with her siblings, I believe that they would be able to take care of her too. So she now has options. She can stay with JP in this house, or she can move in with one of her older siblings or whatever, and they would help. So I'm hoping that never happens, obviously, but if it does, then it's not as much of an issue as it was way back. Dewey died over 6 years ago. So way back 6 years ago it was a different thing, because I only had one of my kids were grown. The rest of them were minors. So Tracy says, I made my funeral arrangements when he died. Yeah, that was very, very smart. My deceased husband's brother closed out my bank account. See, I don't know how all that stuff works exactly, but people just trying to do a lot of stuff they're not supposed to do. Tracy says I would never pay a financial planner. And you know what? that was my attitude too. Like, I'm not going to pay somebody to tell me how to manage my money, but I at least want to know what my options are. Like I want to know if I should even think about investing in a certain way or whatever. And so I have put it off too, because I was the same way. I was like, I'm not going to pay somebody to tell me how to deal with my finances, but I am going to go Money Pickle, and I'm going to take the 45-minute free. Like, I'm going to take that free one. I'm going to tell them what my financial situation is and say, what should I be looking at down the road for retirement as far as Social Security and retirement, those types of things. And so I'm definitely going to talk to them about that kind of stuff. If they try to offer me some kind of services, I probably won't take it, because I don't want to spend more money. But if it's something that I didn't realize was out there that I do feel like maybe it would benefit me, then at least I know what my options are. That's all. I just want to know what my options are. That's it. If I say, thank you for your information, I don't want any more services, have a great day, done, then that's it. So Anne says, I'm in Australia. Tracy says, I did fine except for my husband's evil brother and wife. Gosh, I know. Let me tell you, family and friends can can do a number sometimes. Malini says, thank you, dear Ann. Take care. Tracy, hope life is all right now and you're in a better place. It's not a fun topic, but so necessary to know all your options, says Ann. I can't wait until all this is behind me. I can enjoy life. So, yeah. So, and it could be that you might get some answers that would help you to make things happen in a faster way than you thought possible. So I don't know what the options are, because if I did, I'd give them to you myself, but I don't know what they are. So that's why I want to send you to someone who can. My daughter was 14 at the time, says Tracy. Since December of 22, we don't speak. Her choice. Yeah, kids. Oh gosh, kids can go through some times with grief. My kids have struggled. If y'all followed me for a while, you know that the kids have, gone through some stuff, especially just recently, because, Braylon's best friend died a month ago, and it really affected Braylon, and it really affected Dallas a lot because they were both close. I mean, this girl was at our house all the time. And so it's a big loss for us. And it seems like their grief just it brings up new grief from the loss of their friend, but it also brings up grief from the loss of their dad. So it just kind of opens up that scab, and it just hurts a little bit more for a little while. And so Tracy says, my stepson got half a life insurance. Funeral bill was to come out of the top. He didn't know until after the funeral meeting. So yeah, pretty much they said that everybody they told me at the funeral home, everybody who is on as a beneficiary are kind of responsible for splitting up the bills, but you still have to kind of arrange that between yourselves. And I was trying to get the stuff done as quickly as possible, so I just paid for everything out of my part. But my husband didn't have an estate. Yeah, Dewey didn't have an estate either. He just had life insurance. That was it. And in his mind, he thought the VA was going to take care of me and I was going to get money every month. And that was not the case. And so it was not exactly the way he thought it was going to be when he left. Ann says, Tracy, please don't think like that. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Have hope. Things will change and there are better times ahead. Yes, this is true. So sometimes it's hard to get stuck in that rut, and to think about, if we focus all of our stuff on what was and what should have been, what could have been, what we wanted it to be, then it kind of blinds us to the opportunities that we have in front of us and things down the road. And so I just have to remember that I have to live the life that Dewey would have wanted me to live for my kids. And, for him, he really wanted to live. He did not want to die. And so for me to waste away days, in grief, because he's gone, if he was right here, he would be like, what are you doing? You're wasting the days. If you don't want the days, then give them back to me, because I don't have them anymore. Like, he would be blessing me out if he saw me get down, and not try my best to get myself out of it, because, he would take all the days that I have ahead of me because he doesn't have any more. And so it makes me feel guilty sometimes that I don't make the most of the days I have sometimes. And I look back and I'm like, I really need to try to do that for him. I'm going to live the rest of my life for him in place of him, because he doesn't get to do it. So now I got to do it for both of us. And so that's a big responsibility. So let's see. So Tracy's got all kinds of financial stuff that she is taking care of. So she is working on it. That's awesome. Shell says, I'm in the UK, discovered after my husband passed that I wasn't responsible for his loans. That was one happy day. So yeah, so Shell's, I'm sure they would have sent you the bills. And so if you didn't know, you might have paid them and then not realize that you didn't have to. So, knowledge is power in that situation. Sarah says, hi from sweltering Texas. Regarding finances, the struggle is real. We're sweltering here too. We are in the high 90s and melting every day. We had to bring the dogs in the middle of the day because it's just too hot for them to be out there. Kay Benton says, they will bill you and try to get you to pay. My husband's bill was over. Oh, I lost my place. The husband's bill was over $1 million for the hospital and doctors. I gave them the insurance info and said, this is it. So yeah, they'll try to bill you, but you got to just find out what state you're in and what you're responsible for. So Jonice says, what on earth? You just stumbled onto this. So I'm so glad you found us. Yay. Fellow Texan here. What a surprise. Tracy's learned lots from books. Okay. And the only thing about books is that you just have to make sure that they are up to date, because tax stuff changes and laws change all the time. And so a lot of that stuff gets updated like yearly or monthly or whatever, so just make sure, especially like VA stuff changes all the time. And so what was true 6 years ago when Dewey first died, is not the same now. And it's not going to be the same in a couple years from now. So just keep up with all those changes. So, and it's, let's see. And then Tracy says only if they die in service. Yeah, that's not true. It's not just if they die in service. So there's lots of things as far as VA stuff. So every situation is different, but Dewey was not active service when he died. And so it's just a lot of different stuff. It just depends on the person. And so every person is different. You just have to kind of find out. So, Anne says, thank you, Leo. Malini says, not the military, full-time employees. So they're kind of talking about their job stuff. Anarchy says, hi, Leo. Thanks for your work from the Netherlands. Haven't seen you guys in a while, so it's kind of nice to be back on a live. So let's see. Katie says, thank you for all your videos and chat. Truly is helpful. And then, so like I said, lots of people that are just kind of posting about individual money stuff. And I don't want to really put everybody's business out there and comment on every single person's stuff because I don't know. I cannot address it. I cannot attest to it. I can't add to it, certainly, because this is not my area of expertise. So I just want to share that resource with you. Tim says, Tim, you're really just pooping in, right? So I put a notice on the Facebook page that somebody was asking where I was. And I was like, yeah, I'm here behind the scenes. I'm here. Don't worry. And I'm just pooping and I'm here just blah, blah, blah. And I meant to say I'm popping in. Right. But it was a typo. I didn't even catch it. And so when I typed it in, it says I was pooping. And so everybody was like, well, it's good to know that you're pooping. Thank you. And so no, it was a typo. I was popping in. So Tim says he's popping in. Idea Factory says my grand was a widow at age 45-ish, lived with her kids, went for a few months at each. Then to the other side, she had at least 4 kids. So yeah, like I said, when you got your situations and your kids and your assets, all that, every situation comes together in a different way. So there's no way to blanketly tell people what they should do except to seek out financial advice, seek out professionals, ask questions from trusted people. That's the best advice that I could get. So let's see. Marsha Magic said, glad I caught you still struggling. I don't know if that's for me or not, but I'm always struggling. We always struggle, and finances are always a thing. You know what I mean? It seems like no matter. Oh, widow retreat. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to discuss that one. So it's still in my mind, but I haven't made any progress on that because so I started my new job. And so I haven't really talked anything about that. There's a lot of people that are coming in saying hello. They must have just got on. So yes, and thank you. Yeah, it is what it is. I can be embarrassed or I can just forget about it. But there you go. What can you do? So I haven't updated many people on my job. And then if you followed along, that that I was a teacher for many years up until last year. Last year was the most horrible teaching experience that I've ever had. And so, but I made it through and I tried to make the best of it, but it was just really tough for just various reasons. And I don't want to get into a whole lot of details. Just know that it was just hard. It was hard. It was hard kids. It was hard administration. It was just hard policy, just hard. And I was in a new county, a new school, culture shock. It was not like the place that I had come from. It was a lot different and not what I was expecting. So anyway, I left that school, but I'm still in the same county and I went to another school. So now I'm at a middle school and I started this past Monday and the kids don't come yet until Tuesday. So the kids will come in, but I am not teaching. I'm actually have an office in the office and I am what they used to call department chair. Like the head of the department of whatever like there's the head of the math department, the head of the English department, etc. So you would call me the head of the special ed department, but they don't call it department chair anymore. They call it lead teacher. And in my case, the workload is so high that you can't possibly do all the management work, the paperwork, the problem solving, the meetings and all that and also teach. And so it is strictly an admin position, not admin like principal, but admin like I just do paperwork and I solve problems and I take the problems that I can't solve and I send them up the chain to the people who can solve them. And so I am, I'm just overseeing the management of all the other special ed teachers who are actually teaching the students and doing all the paperwork and just making sure that everybody's on track, everybody's on their timelines that they're supposed to, everybody's paperwork looks right, because our paperwork is legal documentation, so it's got to be right. Dates have to be right, wording has to be right, services that we provide them have to be right legally. And so I'm just responsible for making sure that everybody else is, doing what they need to do. And so it's been really nice, but I'm over my head as far as I don't know this job. Like I know how to be a special ed teacher, but there's a lot of things that I never had to do that now I have to learn how to do. And every problem seems to be its own unique problem. And so it's going to be really busy. It's going to be a huge learning curve, but I have a lot of support. I have a lot of people around me that can give me advice and help me. I'm working with some really nice people. I really have enjoyed the people so far that I'm working in the building with. My admin seems really awesome. My teachers that I'm overseeing seem really awesome. And I'm just excited to try this new thing. And so we'll see. But because it's a new job, it's going to keep me really, really busy until I figure out what the heck I'm doing. It'll probably take me all school year to figure out what the heck I'm doing. And so then I'll decide at the end of the school year if I want to continue to do it or if I want to. My other option is to go back to virtual school. And so my sister, my main man, Stormy, y'all know who Stormy is if you followed me for a while. I think she was in here. I don't know if she still is. She taught for 22 years at the same school, 22, 23, 20 something, just over 20 years at the same school, same job. Bless her. Middle school. And she finally was like, I got to do something else. She just needed a change, needed something fresh, needed something, better. So she went to the virtual school. So she's teaching from home on the computer, and she keeps bragging about how much she loves it and how she doesn't have to get up and go to work because she just goes upstairs to her office. And so I might be following her footsteps. If this job is just too much, if it's too much stress. And if so, next year I'll just go be a online virtual teacher, and I'll just do that. And that's maybe where I'll retire. We'll see. All right. So let's keep, Joni says, keep on pooping, girl. All right. So Tracy says school started last Monday. So pre-planning started last Monday and the students go on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. So I got one more day of planning on Monday, and then the students start August 1st. And I am in Georgia. And so teachers start at the end of July, kids start at the beginning of August. Everybody gets done about the end of May. We actually do post-planning a couple of days in June, and that's it. So we get most of June off, most of July off, and that's pretty much it. And so let's see. That's about all I think I can do. So just to wrap it up, just make an appointment with Money Pickle, moneypickle.com/onehappywidow. See what they have to say. It's free. It's online. You get to schedule the time. If it don't cost you anything except for 45 minutes of your time, find out what they have to say. If you don't like it, say thank you very much, close it out, and then go on your merry way. And you never know. You might get some information that's helpful. You might be able to get set up on some other services that you might need. I'm going to do it. I'm going to set me up an appointment sometime in the next week or two. I don't know how open they are for scheduling appointments. But remember, I gave you the little extra tidbit. Go in there, make your appointment, and then email me. So you can either email me at leo@onehappywidow.com or onehappywidow@gmail.com, which is my normal one. But either way, email me and say, hey, I made an appointment for this day, this time. Yeah, you could lie, but what would be the point if it's free anyway, right? Just make the appointment. Tell me this day, this time, just so I know that you made the appointment. And then I will set up the Zoom link and I will invite you. It'll be somewhere around the end of August. So everybody who signs up and for one in August will be able to come into the Zoom session, and we'll just have a little powwow, and I'll get feedback from you on how it went, on if we can make any improvements. And if we just want to chat about anything else we want to chat about, that'd be fine too. So if you want that special Zoom session, go in there, make your appointment, and then let me know that you did it. And then I will see you in our Zoom session And that's not going to be recorded and put on YouTube. Like, that's going to be a private thing that once it's done, it's going away. So it's just going to be us, and it's never going outside of that Zoom. It's just going to be a private thing, and it's not even going to be recorded. It's just going to be just us. So, all right. Thank you for everything, guys. Thank you for coming in. I knew it was going to be a long one. We're at 1 hour and 20. And yep. Well, you took us on that school journey. You fought the good fight. I did. I put on a bunch of weight. Like, I ended up having to start going to therapy. I ended up having to take some medication just so I can handle my first period class. Like, it was some stuff. It was a ride. And all I can say is that, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Or they can say, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. Like, I learned so much last year. I learned about conflict resolution. I learned about like managing my emotions. I learned about having my face. I learned a little bit about having my face say something different than what was in my brain. I learned some stuff. And so that's what I'm just going to say. It was a learning experience. And I can say this, I'm very happy. I miss my people. I miss my department was so great. Like, all the special ed teachers that were over there, my immediate boss over there was awesome. She's now my peer because she's doing the same job I'm doing. And so now we're like little work buddies in different buildings, but she's not my boss anymore because I'm like parallel to her. But all the teachers that were in that department with me, oh gosh, they were so awesome, and I'm going to miss them. So it was just a lot of other issues that I had, and I was just not a good fit for that school. Let's just put it that way. Somebody out there is perfect for that job. The guy who's taken my place, I've already talked to him. I helped train him. He's new. He's excited. He's fresh. He's got all this energy. He's positive. He's so happy to be there. He needs to be in that spot. And I hope it stays that way for him. Like, I hope he keeps that energy, but I think he's going to be awesome. And so he needs to be there. And so I had to leave for him to be able to take that place. So I'm hoping that's going to be a good thing for him. But the people that I left in my department, I will miss them a lot. As a matter of fact, I'm going over there on Monday during lunch to have lunch with them. So awesome people. But I don't want to get into a lot of details because it's not about complaining. It was just not a place for me. So, yeah. And Tracy says, what am I doing now in school? I don't know if that question's for me, but yeah, I'm the, what's they call the special ed lead teacher. So it would have been called the department chair. So I'm the head, special ed teacher for the department. And so I just oversee all the other special ed teachers at the school in the middle school. So there's 9 teachers and 5 parapros. Supposed to be. We've got some open positions we still haven't filled yet, and school is starting already. But so we have to hire some people. But it's going to be 9 teachers and I think 4 parapros that I will just manage paperwork, manage schedules, management, I guess. And so best wishes for a good year. All right. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up. If y'all have questions, feel free to email me. I join the Facebook group if you want to get the contact list. All those links and stuff that I talked about, they're in the description. So go down there and find all the links. Go to Money Pickle. I'm looking for all those emails to come in and tell me when your appointments are, so we can get together at the end of August and we can talk about it. And I'm very curious to see how it's going. And hopefully y'all will tell me, I got so much good information that I can use, and now I know what to do with blah, 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 blah. I'm just glad that I can finally send y'all somewhere for advice on money, because I don't have it. I'm terrible with it. So you can look at my Amazon account and don't look at it. You would shame me. All right. Thank you. Your videos have helped me a great deal. Awesome. Okay. Y'all gotta have a good rest of your Sunday. I got to prepare because I got to go to work tomorrow. And so does Stormy, although she doesn't have to go anywhere but upstairs to her office in her house. But you know how I feel about that. All right. Take care, guys. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you later.